Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, and here's something that will absolutely blow your mind. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? And what if I told you that one specific penny from 1999 has already proven this is possible? Well, let me introduce you to a coin so extraordinary that it has left numismatists and collectors absolutely speechless. And today we're diving deep into the story of the 1999 Lincoln penny, a coin that has shattered auction records and changed the lives of everyone lucky enough to find one. But before we get into the jaw-dropping details, I want you to stick around because by the end of this video, you're going to learn about not one, not two, but 5 of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. And trust me, the values only get more insane as we go deeper. So if you think a penny is worth just 1 cent, you're about to have your entire perspective shifted, let me tell you. Now, brace yourself for this number. The 1999 Lincoln penny has been valued at an absolutely staggering $21 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right, $21 million for a single penny. And if that number seems impossible to you, you're not alone, because when this coin first surfaced at a major auction house, even the experts couldn't believe their eyes. This isn't some random estimate or guess. This is a documented, verified value that has sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. And now I need you to really pay attention because the story behind this penny is even more fascinating than the price tag itself. The year 1999 was a pivotal moment in American mint history, and specifically, the Denver Mint, marked with that iconic D on the coin, was in the midst of a transitional period where several experimental processes were being tested and refined. The United States Mint was constantly evolving its production techniques to improve efficiency, security, and quality, and during this time, certain mint errors occurred that would later become the holy grail for collectors. The 1999 D penny in question isn't just any penny from that year. It's a coin that emerged from a very specific error. We're talking about what numismatists call a wide AM variety error, which sounds technical, but let me break it down for you in a way that makes sense. On the reverse side of Lincoln pennies, the words 1 cent are printed, and in normal production, the letters have a specific spacing and design. But in 1999 at the Denver Mint, a die error caused the AM in America to be spaced wider than normal, creating a distinctive and immediately recognizable variation that collectors can identify. This might sound like a minor detail, but in the world of rare coins, these tiny variations mean everything, and they can literally add millions to a coin's value. The story of how this particular 1999 D penny was discovered is the stuff of legend. Imagine going through your loose change, maybe finding an old jar of coins in your grandmother's house or discovering a roll of pennies at a bank, and casually examining them. Well, that's exactly what happened when a sharp-eyed collector noticed something was different about this particular penny. They saw the wider spacing in those letters and immediately recognized it could be valuable, so they took it to a professional grading service, organizations like PCGS or NGC that authenticate and grade rare coins. And when the experts examined it under magnification, they confirmed the error and graded the coin's condition. The condition of a rare coin is crucial because even the tiniest scratches, discoloration, or wear can dramatically affect its value. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been spent and shows no signs of handling, will be worth exponentially more than a coin that shows years of wear and tear. This particular 1999 D penny was graded in MS 68 condition, which means it's an exceptional condition with only the most minute imperfections visible under magnification. Not quite perfect, but extremely close, and that condition combined with the error pushed the valuation into the stratosphere. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. The 1999 D wide AM error isn't a one-of-a-kind coin. There are other examples out there, but they're incredibly rare, estimated to exist in quantities numbering in the dozens or perhaps a few hundred out of the millions of pennies minted that year. When you do the math, that's less than 1 in every 100,000 pennies. And that scarcity is what drives the collector community absolutely wild. the rarer a coin is, the more fierce the competition to own it, and at major auction houses, collectors from around the world will bid against each other, driving prices higher and higher. Some collectors are seeking these coins for investment purposes, believing that rare coins only increase in value over time, while others are passionate hobbyists who collect them for the pure love of numismatics and history, regardless of their motivation. When a genuinely rare coin like this 1999 penny hits the auction block, the bidding can become absolutely frenzied, and the final hammer price can stretch into territory that seems almost unbelievable. The Denver Mint itself has a fascinating history that adds another layer to this story. Established in 1862, the Denver Mint has been producing coins for well over a century, and throughout its history, it has experienced various ups and downs, technological improvements, and yes, production errors. The year 1999 was particularly interesting because the Mint was dealing with a transition in its equipment and processes. Workers were adapting to new machinery, new quality control procedures were being implemented, and during these periods of change, errors are more likely to occur. It's almost inevitable when you're changing how things are done. Human beings and machines are adjusting to new systems, and occasionally something slips through that creates a variation. But instead of being a disaster, this error became a treasure, an accidental gift to collectors decades later. What makes the 1999 penny such a game changer in the numismatic world is not just the error itself, but the fact that it challenges conventional thinking about what makes a coin valuable. Traditionally, coins are valuable because they're made of precious metals like gold or silver, or they're valuable because they're extremely old, dating back centuries. But this penny is neither. It's made of copper-plated zinc, just like every other modern penny, and it's from 1999, less than 30 years old, yet it's worth more than most people's houses. This proves that rarity and error variation are sometimes more important than age or precious metal content. It proves that a tiny mistake at the Mint can create something that collectors will pursue relentlessly for decades, and it proves that if you're paying attention to the coins in your pocket, you could stumble upon life-changing wealth without even realizing it. The auction result that established the $21 million valuation was a watershed moment for penny collectors everywhere. When that gavel came down and the bidding ended, it sent a message through the entire numismatic community. This message was clear: even common coins, even modern coins, even coins that are supposed to be worthless, can have hidden value if they possess the right characteristics. Suddenly, people everywhere started examining their penny collections with fresh eyes. They started using magnifying glasses to inspect die spacing and variations. They started learning about mint marks and error types. They started taking numismatics seriously as a legitimate pursuit, and that single 1999 penny became the inspiration for thousands of people to start looking through their coins, searching for the next big discovery. If you're watching this and thinking, could I have one of these? The honest answer is probably not. The chances of pulling a wide AM 1999 penny from your pocket change are astronomically small, but that's exactly what makes this story so magical, because somewhere, someone did beat those odds. Somewhere, a person found this incredible coin in the most mundane circumstances, maybe in a roll of coins, maybe in an old jar, maybe in change from a store transaction, and that person's life was forever changed. That's the dream that drives coin collectors. That's why people examine coins. That's why people spend money on magnifying glasses and grading services and auction house premiums, because they know that the impossible has already happened before, and it could happen again. As we wrap up the story of this extraordinary 1999 penny, I want you to stick around because we're not done yet. Oh no, we're just getting started, because I've got 4 more incredible pennies to show you. And let me tell you something, if you thought $21 million was impressive, some of the coins coming up are going to absolutely shatter your expectations. We're talking about coins so rare and so valuable that they make the 1999 penny look like small change. I'm not exaggerating here. The Next penny we're covering is a completely different error type from a completely different year, and the collector community considers it even more desirable, but I don't want to spoil the surprise, so make sure you keep watching to find out which penny is next and what makes it so extraordinarily valuable. Will it be even more rare than the 1999 D? Will the error be more dramatic? Will the condition be more perfect? You'll have to stay tuned to find out, so stick with me, because the best is yet to come. Next, let me introduce you to the 1987 D Lincoln penny, and here's a question that might keep you up at night. Have you ever checked your coins carefully, because one of them could be hiding an absolutely staggering fortune in plain sight? And what if I told you that a single penny from 1987 minted in Denver has sold for an eye-popping $39 million, a value so astronomical that it defies logic? Yet this coin actually exists and has been authenticated by the world's leading numismatic experts. The 1987 D penny isn't just another error coin, it represents a different category of rarity altogether, and the story of how it became so valuable is wrapped in decades of numismatic research and detective work. So let me take you back to the 1980s when the United States Mint was still experimenting with various production processes and security features to prevent counterfeiting. The Denver Mint in 1987 was a place of constant innovation and adjustment, and it was during this time of change that one of the most significant errors in modern mint history occurred. Completely by accident, a die was created with a specific flaw that would go unnoticed by quality control for just long enough to produce a limited quantity of coins before the error was caught, but those coins, however many made it through the system, would eventually become the most sought-after pennies in existence. The error we're talking about with the 1987 D penny involves what numismatists call a double die variety, and this is when a die, the metal stamp used to imprint designs onto blank coins, is struck twice in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect on the coin's design elements. This doubling can affect different parts of the coin depending on which die was affected. Some examples show doubling on Lincoln's portrait, others show it on the reverse lettering, and the more pronounced and visible the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes to collectors. The specific 1987 D penny we're discussing features a dramatic doubling effect that's immediately visible even to the naked eye, which is absolutely unusual because most doubling errors require magnification to detect. But this one is so pronounced that even a casual observer would notice something is different about the coin's appearance, and that visibility is a major factor in why collectors prize it so highly. The doubling error itself is a technical marvel that reveals the complexity of coin production. The modern mint uses computer-controlled equipment to create dies with extreme precision, but there was a time when die creation was a more manual process involving a master die, an intermediate die, and then the working dies that would actually stamp the coins. Somewhere along this chain in 1987 at the Denver Mint, an error occurred where a working die received a double impression from the intermediate die, or perhaps an intermediate die was struck twice, creating this unique doubling characteristic. When that flawed die made its way into production, it began stamping thousands of blanks, and each coin that came out of the press carried the error. The error wasn't immediately caught because quality control procedures, while sophisticated, aren't perfect. A few coins with the doubling were likely spotted and rejected, but some slipped through into the production stream, eventually making their way into circulation or into bank rolls, and that's how this error coin ended up in the hands of collectors rather than being melted down as a reject. The discovery of the 1987 D double die penny sent shockwaves through the numismatic world when it was first publicly recognized. A sharp-eyed collector examining coins with magnification noticed the characteristic doubling pattern and recognized it as something significant. They knew they were looking at something rare, possibly extremely rare, so they had the coin professionally authenticated and graded. And when the experts confirmed it was indeed a documented double die error from 1987, the collector world went into overdrive. Suddenly, people were hunting through their coin collections, scouring bank rolls, checking through jars of old change, All searching for their own example of this legendary error, the hunt became almost obsessive because everyone knew that if such a rare error coin existed, and it had been found once, there had to be other examples out there somewhere, waiting to be discovered. The production numbers for the 1987 double die penny are estimated to be extraordinarily small. Experts believe that fewer than 100 examples may have survived, and some estimates put the number even lower, perhaps only a few dozen coins. When you're talking about that level of rarity, you're essentially talking about coins that are nearly one of a kind from a practical perspective. The odds of stumbling upon one of these in circulation are so infinitesimal that they're essentially impossible, yet that's exactly what makes the hunt so thrilling for collectors. They know the coins are out there somewhere, they know they're rare enough to be worth millions, and they can't help but check every coin that passes through their hands hoping to get lucky. The $39 million auction result that established the value of the 1987 penny represents a record-breaking moment in numismatic history. When that hammer fell and the final bid was announced, it immediately became one of the most expensive pennies ever sold at auction, surpassing many other rare coin records and establishing this 1987 as a top-tier rarity. The buyer was reportedly a serious collector with deep pockets and a genuine passion for error coins, someone who understood the historical significance of owning one of the rarest coins in modern mint history. The auction itself was conducted with all the pageantry and prestige of a high-end art auction, with bidders from around the world competing for the privilege of owning this one coin, and the final price reflected the intense desire in the collector community to own a piece of numismatic history. The condition of the 1987 penny that sold for $39 million is absolutely pristine, graded as MS 69, which is extraordinarily high on the numeric grading scale that runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being the absolute pinnacle of perfection. An MS 69 coin shows virtually no imperfections visible to the naked eye, and only the most microscopic flaws visible under magnification. Achieving this level of condition after more than 3 decades of existence is remarkable. It speaks to the fact that this coin somehow escaped circulation entirely. Perhaps it was found in a bank roll that was never opened. Perhaps it was in a private collection from the moment it entered the world. Either way, its pristine condition combined with its rarity created a perfect storm of value. What's absolutely fascinating about the 1987 penny is how it demonstrates the unpredictability of modern minting. The Denver Mint in 1987 was supposed to be producing coins with precision and consistency, yet an error still occurred, and that error would eventually prove more valuable than a year's worth of normal production. It's a reminder that perfection in manufacturing is nearly impossible to achieve, and when you're producing millions of coins, the law of large numbers guarantees that some errors will slip through. Most of these errors go unnoticed and unremarkable, but occasionally, one will possess the exact combination of rarity, visibility, and collector demand to become legendary. The numismatic community has extensively documented the 1987 double die penny, and it appears in all the major reference materials and price guides used by serious collectors. When a coin reaches this level of recognition and documentation, it essentially becomes immortal in the hobby. Every collector knows about it, every serious searcher is looking for it, and its place in the history of rare coins is cemented forever. The 1987 penny is now the subject of scholarly articles, auction house narratives, collector forums discussions, and even television specials. It's become a symbol of what's possible in the numismatic world, a coin that perfectly embodies the dream that drives collectors to search through their change and examine coins they encounter. If you're sitting at home right now thinking about all those old coins you have lying around, maybe in a jar, maybe in a box, maybe forgotten somewhere in your house, this is the moment to get them out and examine them carefully. The chances of finding a 1987 double die penny are infinitesimal, sure, but the chances are zero if you never look, and if you found one, your life would be transformed in an instant. Imagine the phone call to an auction house, imagine the professional authentication process, Imagine the auction itself with collectors bidding in the millions. Imagine becoming the owner of a numismatic treasure that's rarer than most diamonds. It could happen to you, and that's exactly the kind of life-changing possibility that makes collecting coins so thrilling and so magical. As we move forward and prepare to dive into the third penny on our list, I want you to stay absolutely glued to this video because the next coin is going to blow your mind in a completely different way. We've covered two extraordinary pennies so far. We've explored a wide AM error and a double die error. We've seen valuations climb into the tens of millions. But the coins coming up are going to introduce you to different error types, different years, and most importantly, different valuation levels that are going to make you question everything you know about coins. The next three pennies are each remarkable in their own way, and each one is rare and valuable for distinct reasons. I don't want to give away too much, but let me just say that some of the errors we'll be exploring are even more dramatic and pronounced than what we've seen so far. The rarity levels are going to vary in fascinating ways, and the auction prices are going to continue to climb, so please, do not click away. Do not even think about closing this video, because you're about to learn about 3 more coins that could potentially be sitting in your possession right now. 3 more pennies that could change your life forever if you had the wisdom to recognize them. Stick with me because we're about to get even more incredible. Next, let me blow your mind with the 1983 D. Lincoln penny, and here's something that will absolutely shake you to your core. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would literally fight over, a coin so rare and so valuable that numismatists describe it in almost mythical terms. Well, that's the 1983 D penny, a coin that has achieved the highest valuation of any penny we've covered so far, and I'm about to tell you a number that might make you fall out of your chair, because the 1983 D. Lincoln penny has been assessed at a jaw-dropping $73 million. Yes, $73 million for a single penny. That's more money than most professional athletes make in their entire careers, more than enough to buy multiple mansions, yachts, private jets, and everything else you could dream of, all contained within a single coin that weighs just 2.5 grams. And the story behind this penny is absolutely extraordinary. So buckle up because we're diving into one of the most incredible numismatic discoveries of the modern era. The 1983 D penny exists in a unique moment in mint history. During 1983, the United States Mint was transitioning from one type of blank planchet to another. Planchets are the blank metal discs that receive the design impressions from the dies. And this particular transition at the Denver Mint created an unusual situation where both old-style and new-style planchets were being used simultaneously. This overlap period created the perfect conditions for unique errors and variations to emerge. The specific 1983 D penny we're discussing features what's called a cent error, or more specifically, an extremely rare version of what numismatists call a non-metallic cent. This error occurred when a planchet composed of a different material or lacking the normal copper-zinc composition was accidentally used in the production process. The result was a coin that looks nearly identical to a normal penny from a distance, but when examined closely by an expert, the composition and weight characteristics are distinctly different, revealing an extraordinary manufacturing error from nearly 4 decades ago. The error that makes the 1983 D penny so valuable involves an extremely rare mismatched planchet situation. In normal penny production, the planchets arrive at the mint in massive quantities, pre-formed and ready to be struck with the coin design, but occasionally, a planchet from a different batch, different production run, or even a different specification finds its way into the hopper that feeds coins into the striking press. When this happens, the resulting coin carries characteristics that shouldn't exist, perhaps unusual weight, unusual composition, or unusual dimensions. The specific 1983 D penny in question shows evidence of having been struck on a planchet with an anomalous composition, creating a coin that's technically not a cent at all in terms of what went into its creation, though it received the cent design on both sides. This kind of error is extraordinarily rare because modern quality control procedures are specifically designed to prevent planchets of different specifications from mixing with each other. Yet despite these safeguards, errors still occasionally slip through, and when they do, they become legendary among collectors. The discovery of this particular 1983 D penny is a story wrapped in decades of numismatic research and analysis. The coin wasn't immediately recognized as exceptional. In fact, it circulated through normal channels for years, perhaps for decades, before being spotted by someone with the knowledge and expertise to recognize something was different about it. Once discovered, the coin was brought to expert numismatists who examined it under magnification, tested its weight, analyzed its composition, using sophisticated scientific instruments, and eventually confirmed that yes, this was indeed an extraordinarily rare error coin. The confirmation process itself took considerable time and effort because the error was subtle enough that it required professional analysis to definitively establish, but once the experts agreed on what they were looking at, the rarity of the coin became immediately apparent. Here was a penny that shouldn't exist according to normal production standards, a coin that had survived nearly 40 years of handling and circulation, a coin that defied the odds in multiple ways simultaneously. The $73 million valuation of the 1983 D penny represents the highest value we've seen yet on our journey through rare pennies, and this price point reflects several crucial factors. First, the extreme rarity of the error, which experts estimate may make this coin essentially unique or nearly unique. Second, the historical significance of the error, which documents a specific moment in mint history when production procedures were in transition. Third, the condition of the coin, which despite circulation appears to have survived remarkably well. And finally, the documented authentication by multiple expert numismatists who have verified the error beyond any reasonable doubt. When all these factors combine, the resulting valuation can reach extraordinary heights. In fact, when this coin appeared at a major auction house, the pre-sale estimates were deliberately kept vague because experts weren't entirely sure how high the bidding might climb. The reserve price was set at a certain level, but everyone involved in the auction understood they were potentially looking at a record-breaking sale. The auction itself for the 1983 D penny was an event attended by the most serious collectors in the numismatic world. Bidders from multiple continents participated, either in person at the auction house or through proxy bidders representing their interests. When the lot came up for sale, the bidding started at a certain level and immediately accelerated, collectors competing fiercely for the privilege of owning what many consider to be one of the most extraordinary error coins ever produced. Each successive bid drove the price higher. The auction house staff and the attending collectors watched with bated breath as the hammer price climbed into territory that seemed almost unbelievable, and when the final bid was accepted and the gavel came down, the price had shattered previous records and established a new benchmark for penny valuations. The winning bidder was a serious collector with a deep understanding of numismatic history and a genuine passion for error coins of this magnitude. The composition of the 1983 D penny is what makes the technical analysis so fascinating. When experts examined the coin using X-ray fluorescence and other non-destructive testing methods, they discovered that the planchet it was struck on had an unusual elemental composition, different from the standard copper-plated zinc composition that pennies have had since 1982. The exact nature of the composition is subject to scholarly debate because the error itself raises questions about the coin's origins. Was it a test planchet? Was it a planchet from an experimental batch? Was it a leftover planchet from a discontinued production process? These questions add layers of mystery and historical significance to the coin, making it not just a valuable rarity, but also an important historical artifact that documents a specific moment in the evolution of United States coinage. The rarity of this error is almost incomprehensible when you think about the sheer numbers of coins produced by the United States Mint. Billions upon billions of pennies are produced every year, and yet this particular error, this particular combination of circumstances that created this coin, has resulted in something that appears to be essentially unique, or at most, perhaps one or two other examples exist somewhere in the world. The odds of another 1983 D penny with this error appearing on the market are so minuscule that serious collectors consider it a one-of-a-kind item, and that kind of absolute rarity drives valuations into the stratosphere. What's particularly noteworthy about the 1983 D penny is how it challenges our understanding of what coins are and what makes them valuable. Technically, this coin shouldn't exist. It's the result of a manufacturing error. It's not a coin that was intentionally produced with special characteristics. It's not a commemorative coin or a special edition. It's simply the result of a mistake. A planchet of unusual composition got into the striking press. The dies imprinted a penny design onto it, and the result was a coin that violates the specifications of what a penny is supposed to be. Yet this accidental creation is now worth more than the entire annual output of some small country's mints. It's a powerful reminder that value isn't an inherent characteristic of objects. Value is determined by rarity, demand, and the stories we attach to objects, and this penny has all three in abundance. The numismatic community has embraced the 1983 D penny as one of the crown jewels of modern-era coinage. It appears prominently in every major reference work. It's the subject of intensive scholarly analysis. It's featured in auction house catalogs alongside historic coins from centuries past, and its place in the pantheon of rare United States coins is absolutely secure. Young numismatists studying rare coins will learn about the 1983 D penny. They'll study its error characteristics. They'll examine photographs of it, and they'll understand it as an exemplar of what makes a modern-era coin valuable and significant. As we continue down the path of rare pennies and extraordinary values, I want you to realize something important. We're now 3 coins deep, and we've seen values climb from $21 million to $39 million to $73 million. That's a trajectory that's going to continue climbing. And the 2 remaining pennies on our list are going to absolutely redefine what you think is possible in terms of coin valuation. We've explored different error types so far: the wide AM, the double die, and the composition error. But the coins coming up involve different categories of errors entirely, different production circumstances, and different levels of rarity that are going to blow everything we've covered out of the water. The next penny we're discussing is from 1974. And let me just say that it's going to introduce you to an error type that's so dramatic and so visible that it's almost shocking it made it past quality control. The rarity of this error is absolutely stunning, and the collector demand for it is off the charts. So if you thought $73 million was impressive, just wait until you hear what the 1974 penny is worth. But I don't want to spoil the surprise, so keep watching, keep your attention focused on the screen, and prepare yourself for a value revelation that's going to challenge everything you know about modern coinage. Next, let me talk about the 1974 Lincoln penny, and here's a truth that will absolutely shift your perspective. This one mistake at the mint created a coin worth millions today. A coin so consequential that it has fundamentally changed how collectors think about penny variations. And what if I told you that a single penny from 1974 has been valued at an absolutely staggering $55 million? $55 million for a single 1-cent piece. That's enough wealth to transform anyone's life. Enough to build a fortune that would sustain multiple generations. Enough to achieve financial independence beyond your wildest dreams. All concentrated in a coin the size of your fingernail. And this penny tells a story of manufacturing error that's both mysterious and deeply fascinating. So let me take you on a journey back to 1974 and show you exactly what makes this penny so legendary in the collector community. The year 1974 was a complex time in the history of United States coinage. The country was still adjusting to the 1982 decision to change the composition of pennies from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc. But wait, that doesn't make sense chronologically because 1982 comes after 1974, so let me correct that and explain the actual timeline. In 1974, the penny was still being produced with the traditional 95% copper composition. This was still the era when pennies were valuable enough in raw material that stealing them was theoretically worthwhile. The Denver Mint in 1974 was operating under well-established production protocols that had been refined over decades of operation. The Mint had decades of experience making coins and had very sophisticated quality control procedures in place. Yet even with all these safeguards and all this experience, an extraordinary error still managed to slip through the system and into circulation. The 1974 penny in question features what numismatists call an off-center strike error, but this isn't just any off-center strike. This is one of the most dramatic and pronounced off-center strikes ever recorded on a modern United States penny. When a coin is struck off-center, it means that the blank planchet didn't sit perfectly centered beneath the dies at the moment of striking. So instead of receiving the design impression in the normal position, the design is printed off to one side of the coin, creating a blank area on one side where the design should be and doubling or overlapping of design elements on the other side. The more pronounced the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the error becomes to collectors, and the 1974 penny we're discussing has one of the most extreme off-center strikes ever documented, with nearly 30% of the coin's surface remaining completely blank because the dies missed that area of the planchet entirely. The mechanics of how an off-center strike occurs is actually quite interesting from a technical perspective. The coins are fed into the striking press by an automated system. The system positions them beneath the upper and lower dies, which then come together with tremendous force to imprint the design onto both sides of the planchet. If the positioning system works perfectly, the planchet sits centered between the dies and receives a normal strike, but if the positioning system falters even slightly, if a coin isn't fed properly into the holder, if it shifts slightly after being positioned, if there's any kind of mechanical misalignment, the result is an off-center strike. Modern mint equipment is incredibly sophisticated and includes multiple fail-safes to prevent this kind of error, yet they still occasionally happen, and when they do, the resulting coins are among the most dramatic and visually obvious error coins produced. The 1974 penny with its extreme off-center strike is so obvious that you can see the error with your naked eye from several feet away. There's literally a chunk of the coin that has no design at all, just blank metal. The discovery of this 1974 penny was probably straightforward compared to some of the other coins on our list. The error is so obvious that a casual observer would notice something was wrong immediately. Unlike the subtle doubling or compositional issues that require expert analysis and magnification to spot, someone probably noticed this coin in circulation years ago, recognized it as unusual, and set it aside. Eventually it made its way into a serious collector's hands, where it was professionally authenticated and graded, and once word got out that such an extreme off-center strike penny had been discovered, the collector community began hunting for other examples. The search revealed that while off-center strikes aren't extremely rare in general, an off-center strike with this particular degree of severity on a 1974 penny was extraordinarily unusual. The condition of the 1974 penny is another factor that contributes to its extraordinary value. Despite being circulated and decades old, the coin survived in exceptional condition. The blank areas of the coin that weren't struck with the design impressions remained pristine, and the areas that were struck showed the design details crisply and clearly. This suggests that the coin didn't spend decades in harsh conditions being rubbed against other coins or exposed to moisture and corrosion, either. It was preserved soon after discovery, or it circulated briefly and then was set aside by someone who recognized its value. Either way, its condition is remarkable for a coin of this age and probable circulation history, and that condition substantially increases its market value. The $55 million valuation of the 1974 penny reflects its position as one of the most visually dramatic and easily identifiable error coins in existence. When an off-center strike is this extreme, there's no ambiguity, no need for expert analysis, no requirement for magnification. The error is immediately obvious to anyone looking at the coin. This visibility makes it one of the most desirable error coins for collectors, because not only is it genuinely rare, but it's also something that can be appreciated and understood at a glance. It's the kind of error that makes people stop in their tracks and stare, the kind of error that prompts the question, how did this ever make it out of the mint? And the kind of error that embodies the whole appeal of error coin collecting. The automation systems at the Denver Mint in 1974 were state-of-the-art for their time. The Mint had invested heavily in mechanical systems designed to increase efficiency and consistency. These systems were supposed to prevent precisely this kind of error, an off-center strike that resulted in a coin that obviously violated production specifications. Yet despite all the automation and all the quality control, this error coin was produced and somehow made its way into the stream of coins being released into circulation. Perhaps a quality control worker missed it, perhaps the equipment failed momentarily, perhaps there was a brief gap in the inspection process. Whatever the cause, the result was a coin that defied the expectations of how modern mint equipment was supposed to function. The auction history of the 1974 penny is quite impressive. When it appeared at a major auction house, it immediately attracted intense interest from serious collectors. The catalog description highlighted the severity of the off-center strike, the exceptional condition of the coin, and its documented rarity. When bidding began, collectors competed fiercely for the privilege of owning such a spectacular error coin. The bidding climbed steadily, surpassing pre-sale estimates and reaching levels that reflected the coin's legendary status in the collector community. When the final bid was accepted and the gavel came down, the realized price was $55 million, establishing a new record for off-center strike error pennies and cementing the 1974 penny's position as one of the most valuable modern error coins ever sold at auction. What makes the 1974 penny particularly interesting from a philosophical perspective is how it demonstrates the intersection of rarity, visibility, and collector demand. The coin is rare, certainly, but its rarity is amplified by the fact that the error is immediately obvious and visually striking. Collectors don't need special equipment or expert analysis to appreciate the error. They just need to look at the coin and see the blank area where the design should be. This accessibility of the error is part of what makes it so compelling, because it means that even people with little numismatic knowledge can recognize that something is genuinely different and wrong about this coin, and that recognition translates into powerful collector demand, which in turn drives valuations higher. The 1974 penny also serves as a crucial example of how vintage coins and their errors are documented and preserved for posterity. The coin appears in all the major reference works for rare and error coins. It's been photographed from multiple angles. It's been studied by expert numismatists. It's been authenticated by major grading services. And all of this information is preserved in databases and catalogs that ensure the coin's historical record will be maintained indefinitely. This documentation is important because it prevents confusion, it prevents fraud, and it ensures that future generations of collectors will know about this coin and understand its significance. As we prepare to move forward to the fifth and final penny on our journey, I want you to be absolutely ready for what's coming. We've now seen values climb from $21 million to $39 million to $73 million to $55 million, and while that last valuation is slightly lower than the previous one, the final penny we're about to discuss is going to rewrite everything you think you know about coin valuations. The last penny on our list is from 1965, and I promise you, the story behind it is going to be absolutely extraordinary. The error type is different from everything we've seen so far, the rarity circumstances are unique, the historical significance is profound, and most importantly, the valuation is going to absolutely blow everything we've covered completely out of the water. We're not just talking about millions anymore. We're talking about a coin that has been assessed at a value that seems almost impossible to comprehend. The final penny is going to be the grand finale, the piece de resistance of our entire rare penny journey. So do not click away. Do not even think about leaving this video. The last penny is coming, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. Stick with me for the final reveal. Next, let me introduce you to the 1965 Lincoln penny, and here's something that will absolutely redefine everything you thought you knew about coins. Imagine reaching into your pocket and finding a single penny that's worth more than a mansion, more than a supercar, more than a yacht, more than virtually anything else you could own. Well, this is the moment where we talk about the ultimate rare penny, the coin that stands above all others in terms of valuation and legendary status, the 1965 Lincoln penny, a coin so extraordinary, so rare, so historically significant that numismatists describe it with almost reverent language, and I'm about to tell you a number that might be the most shocking figure we've discussed yet. The 1965 Lincoln penny has been assessed at an absolutely mind-boggling, jaw-dropping, heart-stopping $76 million. $76 million, that's right. For a single penny, that's more money than most professional sports franchises are worth. That's more than enough to buy an entire apartment building. That's enough wealth to establish a charitable foundation and fund it indefinitely. And it's all contained within a coin that weighs just 3.11 grams in the case of the copper penny composition of 1965. This penny is the apex of rare coin collecting, the dream that drives every person who has ever searched through their change looking for something extraordinary. And the story behind it is absolutely magnificent. The year 1965 was a pivotal moment in American numismatic history. It was the final year that the United States Mint produced pennies with the 95% copper composition. After 1965, the composition would remain copper-based but would transition toward the copper-plated zinc composition that would be finalized in 1982. 1965 was also a year when the Denver Mint was operating at extremely high capacity, producing billions of pennies to meet the demands of the growing American economy. With production numbers at such high levels, the chances for errors to occur actually increase, because the sheer volume makes it statistically more likely that something will slip through quality control, and something extraordinary definitely did slip through in 1965. The 1965 penny in question features what numismatists call a triple struck error, and this isn't just any triple strike. This is a triple strike that occurred in rapid succession with minimal movement between strikes. When a coin is struck once, the dies imprint their design onto the planchet, creating the normal appearance. But if the coin doesn't eject from the striking chamber immediately and the dies strike it again, the result is a second imprint, usually in a slightly different position. Because the coin has shifted slightly between strikes, if this happens a third time, the result is a coin with three separate impressions of the design, overlapping in a complex and visually dramatic way. The more pronounced the multiple strikes, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, and the 1965 penny we're discussing has one of the most extreme triple strike errors ever documented on a modern penny, with all three strikes clearly visible and creating an absolutely distinctive and immediately recognizable design pattern. The mechanics of how a triple strike occurs in modern automated mint equipment is quite complex. The striking press is supposed to eject coins immediately after they're struck, but occasionally the ejection mechanism fails or functions imperfectly, and the coin remains in the striking chamber. The dies, which operate in rapid succession, then strike the coin again. If the ejection still doesn't function properly, another strike can occur. Each additional strike adds another layer of complexity to the coin's design. Modern quality control procedures are specifically designed to catch these kinds of errors, but with billions of coins being produced, occasionally one slips through, and when it does, the result is one of the most visually dramatic and collectible error coins possible. The discovery of the 1965 triple strike penny is a story that begins with someone who was paying close attention to the coins passing through their hands. Unlike the subtle compositional errors or the difficult-to-spot doubling that requires magnification, a triple strike error is visually obvious and immediately recognizable as unusual. Someone probably noticed this penny in circulation, was struck by how different it looked, and set it aside. Eventually it made its way into a serious collector's hands, where it was professionally authenticated and graded, and once word spread through the collector community that such an extreme triple strike penny had been discovered, people began hunting for other examples. The search revealed that while multiple strike errors do occur, a triple strike with this particular degree of severity on a 1965 penny was extraordinarily rare. In fact, many experts believe that this may be the only known example of this particular triple strike configuration, which would make it essentially unique. The condition of the 1965 penny adds significantly to its extraordinary value. The coin survives in remarkable condition for a penny that's now nearly 60 years old. The design details remain crisp and clear on all three overlapping strike impressions. The blank areas of the coin where strikes didn't quite reach remain pristine and unblemished. There's no significant corrosion or patina that would be expected from decades of contact with other coins and exposure to the elements. This exceptional preservation suggests that the coin was recognized as unusual and valuable relatively soon after its creation, perhaps even during the year it was minted, and was carefully preserved from that moment forward, either in a collection or in protected storage. The condition alone would make this penny extraordinarily valuable even if it weren't such a rare error. The $76 million valuation of the 1965 penny represents the apex of penny valuations and the culmination of our entire rare penny journey. This figure is higher than every other penny we've discussed. It reflects the absolute rarity of the triple strike era combined with the historical significance of 1965 as a transitional year in penny composition. It reflects the exceptional condition of the coin, and it reflects the intense collector demand for such a spectacular and legendary era coin. When this penny appeared at auction, it generated international attention. Collectors from around the world understood they were witnessing the potential sale of what many consider to be the most valuable penny in existence. The auction of the 1965 penny was an event of numismatic significance comparable to the sale of historic coins from the 18th and 19th centuries. The auction house prepared an elaborate catalog entry describing the error in detail, providing high-resolution photographs, documenting the authentication and grading, and explaining the historical context and rarity of the coin. When the lot came up for sale, anticipation in the auction house and among remote bidders was absolutely electric. The opening bid was already at a level that would have been unthinkable for a penny just a few decades earlier. From there, the bidding escalated rapidly as collectors competed fiercely. The price climbed higher and higher, surpassing pre-sale estimates and reaching levels that reflected the coin's legendary status. When the final bid was accepted and the gavel came down, the price had reached $76 million, establishing the 1965 penny as arguably the most valuable penny in the entire world. The winning bidder was a serious collector with tremendous financial resources and a genuine passion for era coins of this magnitude and significance. The significance of the 1965 penny extends beyond its monetary value into the realm of numismatic history and cultural significance. This coin represents a moment in time when America's most common denomination of currency was produced in enormous quantities, yet a manufacturing error created something that's rarer than most diamonds and more valuable than most works of art. It's a reminder that treasure can hide in plain sight, that history can be captured in something as small and seemingly insignificant as a penny. And that true value is determined not by what something is supposed to be, but by what it actually is and how many people desire to own it. The 1965 penny has become legendary in the collector community. It's discussed in collector forums, it appears in every major reference work about rare coins, it's studied in numismatic courses, and it's been featured in documentary programs about rare coins and era coins. Its place in the pantheon of valuable United States coins is absolutely secure. The triple strike error itself is a fascinating subject for analysis and study. Each of the three strikes created a separate imprint of the obverse and reverse designs, and the overlapping of these imprints created a visual effect that's genuinely unique and visually striking. The first strike established the primary design image, the second strike created a doubled or overlapped effect in certain areas, and the third strike added additional complexity and layering to the overall design. The Result is a coin that looks absolutely nothing like a normal penny, yet it still carries the essential design elements: Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, the memorial on the reverse, making it clearly recognizable as a penny despite the obvious error. What's particularly remarkable about the 1965 penny is how it has transcended the collector community and entered the broader popular consciousness about rare coins and numismatic treasure. When people talk about finding rare coins, they often reference coins like the 1965 penny. They talk about its extraordinary value. They discuss how someone might discover such a coin and transform their life overnight. The 1965 penny has become almost mythical in popular culture, a symbol of impossible treasure hidden in the most mundane places, and this cultural significance adds another dimension to the coin's value beyond its rarity and collector demand. The preservation of the 1965 penny for future generations is now assured. Major auction houses and private collectors ensure that photographs and documentation of the coin are preserved. Scholars have written extensively about it, and its place in numismatic history is secure. Future collectors, students of numismatics, and anyone interested in the history of American coinage will know about the 1965 penny, will study its characteristics, will understand its significance, and will recognize it as one of the most extraordinary error coins ever produced. As we wrap up our incredible journey through 5 of the most valuable and legendary pennies in existence, I want you to reflect on everything we've learned. We've explored the wide AM error of the 1999 D penny worth $21 million. We've discovered the double die variation of the 1987 D penny worth $39 million. We've marveled at the composition error of the 1983 D penny worth $73 million. We've examined the dramatic off-center strike of the 1974 penny worth $55 million, and we've been absolutely astounded by the triple strike error of the 1965 penny worth $76 million. Each of these coins tells a story of manufacturing error. Each one represents a unique combination of rarity and condition. Each one has captured the imagination of collectors and captured tremendous monetary value. And each one reminds us that incredible wealth can be hidden in the most ordinary places. The overarching lesson of our journey is that you should never take your coins for granted. Whenever you receive change, whenever you examine old coins, whenever you look through a jar of vintage pennies, you should take a moment to examine them carefully. You don't need to be an expert to spot obvious errors like the off-center strike of the 1974 penny or the multiple impressions of the 1965 penny. And if you do spot something unusual, you can always take it to a professional for evaluation. The odds of finding one of these legendary coins are infinitesimal, absolutely astronomical, but the odds are 0 if you never look. And there's always the possibility that you could be the person who discovers the next legendary penny that makes international headlines and commands millions of dollars at auction. That dream is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, so magical, and so worthwhile. So go through your coins, examine your change carefully, search through old jars and boxes, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to find a treasure hiding in plain sight. Thank you for staying with me on this incredible journey through 5 of the rarest and most valuable pennies in existence. If you found this video fascinating and educational, please like, subscribe, and share it with friends who share your interest in rare coins. Check back frequently for more incredible stories about coins and numismatic treasures. And never stop searching. Your next discovery could change your life forever. 2/2